Alright, hey, I'm Starwell. Welcome to the video. So you want to have circles in Satisfactory, and you don't want to have this horrible glitching overlapping happening. Thankfully, I've discovered a couple of methods that I'm going to show you today on how to make circles in Satisfactory without the overlapping. Alright, so let's get right into it. First thing you're going to want to start with any circle is determining exactly where you want the middle of it. That should be no problem for you. If this is already in line with a pre-existing grid, that's no problem as well. You can have these circles inlaid to the rest of your base, no problem, unlike the previous system. You don't have to start fresh on a new grid is what I'm saying. Basically, yeah, once you actually have your existing grid, you could actually just extend your existing grid, but we're actually going to start fresh right here. We're going to want to use foundation 8x1s. We're going to start with a small cross built out here, and from that cross we're going to actually delete the inner 3x3 area, and we could go out further. 5 is a good number to go out, but we're going to go out just 3 for now because we're just doing this as an example, and we're going to want to be using 8x1 foundations for building this. And this is normally when it would start overlapping, right? But instead of having that happen, we're actually going to build out from the layer that we just did. We're going to remove the frames and then remove the industrial beams and then replace the beams. Stand on the beams, again, finding the exact middle. Watch my foot do a weird thing. And then once we're exactly in the middle, then we're going to place on the angle. And as you can see, now that we've done that, the process of replacing it, there isn't any overlapping happening at all over here. So the overlapping is gone. And you can actually move from the middle of these things, unlike the other tutorials have said. You just have to find the exact middle again. And that is a problem sometimes. Alright, so I'm going to extend this out just a little ways. And then, again, you just have to begin a new layer, but if you do that, you're going to need to replace it first. Remember, so this time we're not actually going to replace it based upon this first cross that we made. We're going to use the new cross. So from the new cross, we'll place the industrial beams down, and this will generate a new layer. So this will move the whole structure down just about like, a millimeter. Like a really small amount, imperceptibly small. But the benefit of doing so is that we're going to be able to see no texture overlapping glitches from now on. So yeah, you can see that. I'm going to build out the rest of this circle, and I'll show you what it looks like once it's done. Alright, so once you've fully extended your various pieces here, you'll actually end up with a circle that looks something like this. And as you can see, there is no texture glitching at all. There is a little bit of overlap, so you still get quite a lot of visual busyness going on, but you don't get any of the textures constantly trying to overpower each other. Now this does work the same way with actual concrete items as well. You can stand on concrete items and build out a circle from here. The only problem with doing that is you're going to have to use 8x2 foundations, so half foundations instead of quarter foundations when you're actually placing it. Obviously, once you've actually built it out far enough, you can use whatever foundations you like. But when you're actually initially jumping to place, you need to use 8x2s when using concrete. And when you use concrete, you will get a slightly different height level, and I'll show that to you now. Alright, so here we have 3 examples laid out of all the various heights that building out these circles with various items will produce that I have tested so far. So using wire the old way, but you're still actually building out like this, trying to get new layers every time, you'll end up with these rather large increments that actually cause little bit of a bumpy ride when you're trying to walk them up. Might be useful if you want to make like a spiral staircase looking thing, but vehicles will have a bad time on it. The next design here is the encased industrial beams that we've been discussing so far, and you end up with a really smooth curve, kind of visually busy, but still rather good looking and doesn't have any of the texture overlapping. And then finally, the third one we have here is with concrete itself centered and used as the item, so building up from a concrete thing, and you end up with a much less visually busy product. However, you do end up with a slightly larger sort of middle ground state between the beams and the wires. So you end up with just a little bit more of an increment. And if you extend this out for a bunch of like little micro layers out and around, it will eventually become noticeable. Another thing that I did here is I actually built out the crosses in a symmetrical pattern coming up from the middle. You don't have to build a spiral shape coming out from each side. You can have them coming out and meeting at the middle. However, keep in mind when you do that, they will not meet in the direct middle because 5-degree angles are impossible in this game. It is worth noting that every circle built in Satisfactory is actually a rather large 36-sided shape. Because every rotation that you make in the game is just 10 degrees, exactly 10 degrees. So every notch rotation is 10 degrees. There are 36 possible rotations, making for 360 degrees. So you can make perfect equilateral triangles in the game, but you cannot properly have a 45-degree angle perfectly coming out of a 90-degree sort of aligned structure already. So yeah, that's the video. If you liked it, drop a like, share it with your friends or whatever. Maybe I'll be doing more Satisfactory content in the future. Thanks for watching.